Sweet coral bells upon a slender stalk, lilies of the valley deck my garden walk. Oh, how I wish that you could hear them ring. That will happen only when the fairies sing.
Hi, I'm Edie Sandmar and welcome to It All Begins in My Gardens, the papermaking episode. I have filmed two previous episodes. The first one showed which flowers I use for pressing, and then in the second episode I showed how to press the flowers and I illustrated different projects to use them in. And in this episode I'm going to show you how to make the paper that I have used in some of those projects, and then how to add flowers and leaves to it. So what I'd like to do is, like I did in my second episode, show you the reference guides that I use for paper making. In the second episode, I showed you those that helped me learn how to press flowers. And this one is reference guides that help me with paper making. So again, what I do is I go to the library, I check out 40 books and I look through them, and then I call it down to my list of the ones that resonate the best with me. So this particular one is Encyclopedia of Paper Making and Bookbinding, and it's by Heidi Reimer Epp and Mary Reimer. And then this one is really fun. It's the Gourmet Paper Maker, and it shows how to make paper out of vegetables and leaves and fruits. And it's by Lorraine Lockey. And then by the same two people who did the encyclopedia is 300 Paper Making Recipes, and that's Heidi Reimer Epp and Mary Reimer. And then the next one is the Art and Craft of Papermaking by Sophie Dawson. And then Making Your Own Paper by Marianne Saddington. And then Making and Decorating Your Own Paper by Kathy Blake and Bill Milne. And then the other resource that I have used in the past is the Minnesota Center for Book Arts. And you can find out about them at www.mnbookarts.org. And again, like I said, you don't have to buy. You can just check these out from the library and see if there's any that you like or are interested, and then buy them, or write down the things that resonate with you. And each one of these books starts with a how-to guide, listing supplies and materials, and walks you through how to do each of the processes that they're talking about. And then also, as I said, for the Minnesota Center of Book Arts, I recommend them for Japanese paper making or marbling. Some of the things that you can make are just incredible. This is a marbling class that I took, and the paper is just so much fun. It's like being a kid again. So it's fun for your kids as well as you. And then also the Japanese paper making class, and their instructors are excellent in taking you through that. So you can use it for your family activities, and it's also a great way to get your creative juices flowing, because they have some great ideas and examples down there to look at. So why do you want to make paper? It's a very inexpensive resource, so why do you want to make it? Well, it's a fun activity for both adults and children, and you can learn something new, and it's working with your hands and a chance to be creative. It's incredibly therapeutic, and what I love about it is the decal edge when you're finished. It is so soft and lovely, and really makes the paper. So let me take you through some supplies that I have invested in, and I'll talk through those with you. What you need is a very large pan or vat for water. And this particular set I got from a company by the name of Carriage House Paper in New York, and they're also on the web, so you can check them out. And then when you, depending on what you buy, you can get some kits. There's the couching sheets, which you need to draw the paper out, draw the water out of the paper and set the paper on there. Then there's what you call molds and decals. The decal is a hardwood, and it's got a screen on it that will, when you add the mold on it, will let the water sift through and the pulp lie on top of the screen, so that you can remove this and then you invert it and couch it on your couching sheets. There are several different sizes of molds and decals. This is for smaller sheets of paper, and then I also have one that you can make envelopes or little sheets that you can write notes on. They're just very lovely. So these are some molds that I have invested in. And then the other thing that you need is a blender, and you don't want to use the same blender that you use for food products. You want to make sure that you have one, and these are not that expensive, as long as or pick one up at a garage sale. As long as you are going to take some time and make paper, this is a good investment. It's probably $15 to $20. So you need a blender, and then the other thing you need are lots of towels and blankets to absorb the water, because it's kind of a messy process. So I'm set up here in my laundry room, which has a water source and works really well. So when you get your sheets pulled on the couching sheets, the other thing you need is a brush to smooth out the paper when you put it on your drying boards or on windows, however you decide to dry your paper. Then when you are going to do your paper, you need pulp. And there are several different methods that I have used for pulps. There's the kozo, which is it's the inner bark of the mulberry tree, and takes quite a bit of processing work to break it down into usable fiber. It is it's the consistency of dried corn husks, and you have to, before you can use it, you have to put it into water and break it down, the fibers down, make them soft, and then it needs to be beat with a mallet for several days, or I'm sorry, it seems like days, about 45 minutes of constant beating before it is to the consistency that you can use it. And again, this is Japanese paper making, and if you are going to want to continue on, I strongly suggest you take a Japanese paper making class, because it'll take you through and show you how to do all of this. The other thing that you can use is gardening material. I use the leaves from the Asiatic lily, recycled or shredded paper from junk mail. You can use old dressmaking patterns, which is what I'm going to use today. I have purchased them through garage sales, or I used to sew a lot, so I have quite a few of them. But what I use is the actual patterns themselves. They make a great, they're sturdy, strong, as well as beautiful. They leave some of the little lines and instructions in the paper, so it adds so much character to it. So that's what I'm going to be using today. And then the other thing you can use, if you want to use your recycled paper, you can add colored napkins or colored construction paper. And then the other item that is is good to have is if you want stronger sheets of paper, they have pre-pressed sheets that they call linters, and this one is abaca, which is a plant that has strong, sturdy fibers, kind of a relative of the banana plant. And then there's cotton, which comes from cotton fiber, recycled fiber, and it adds strength to make the weaker paper stronger. And almost any fiber can be used to make paper. And corn husks, I've used corn husks, and I take out as many of the silks as I can, because depending on what you want to use your paper for, it has little raised to surfaces. I've used pumpkin shells, celery, and like I said, the leaves from the Asiatic lilies, and recycled paper from the dressmaker patterns, and that's what I use to make my bowls. Okay, let me put that to the side. And then what I'd like to do is talk you through the steps, and then I will show you how I do it. So what you do is you take your vat and you fill it full of cold water. Cold water works best. If the water is too warm, it'll break down the fibers too quickly. So you want to fill it about 2/3 full, because you're going to be adding blenders full of water. So you don't want to make it too full or it'll run over on you. And then you make several blenders of pulp, and I'll show you how to do that. And then you add them to the water. When you're starting, you want about 2 to 3 blenders of the pulp to get started, and then replenish as you pull sheets of paper. And then you use the mold and decal to pull up sheets of, pick up the fibers, and then you invert and place it on the couching sheets, and then you create a post of papers. And mine, I have enough couching sheets for about 11 sheets of paper. And then I press the water out of the post, and then I take the post out to my drying boards, and I brush the paper onto the drying boards, and then you wait until they're completely dry before removing, and then you stack them, and also annotate information about them so you know what kind it is if you really like it, so you can do it again, or if you don't, so you don't do it again. And then practice, 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 because just like everything else, it's not something that happens the first time you pull. You may have some good results the first time, but you have to practice to see how it works for you. So practice, practice, practice. Okay, now let me take a minute and get the water in the vat and ready to receive the pulp, and then I will show you how I'm going to do this. So let me put these to the side for just a second. And then the other thing that I have is my water, or my sink is a little bit large for my vat. So I have 2 boards that I support it on. So I'm going to take a few minutes and fill it with water, and then we'll be right back together. Okay, I've got enough of water in my vat. The other thing I need to mention is what you want for your couching sheets is to have them wet as well. So I just soak them in my bucket, and I've also set up here so that I have plenty of blankets to absorb the water, so it's not all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about, that much pulp, and you're going to have to experiment. You don't want to put too much pulp in your blender, because it may hurt the motor. So you want to make sure that you're not putting too much in there, but enough so that you can fill up your vat. So I'm going to fill this about up to here with water, and then we're going to blend for about 30 seconds. So it looks like that when you're ready to blend. So other thing is, don't forget to put the cover on. Could be a mess. All right, here we go. We're going to blend it for about 30 seconds. Okay, I mentioned earlier that if you want to add strength to the paper that you're making, you can use some of the linters that are available for sale. And this is the Abaca, and what I have been doing is soaking it in the bowl for about 2 hours before I started. So you want to make sure that it's reconstituted, and then you're going to use it in your blender as well and add it to the vat. So I'm going to add, I've added 2 of the recycled paper making patterns, and then I'm going to, or the dress patterns, and then I'm going to add 1 of the Abaca linter to it as well. So I'm going to put this into the blender and get that going, and then we should be able to pull a sheet of paper. Okay, this is the Abaca, that, and as you'll see, it's a nice little slurry of fiber now that I've blended it for 30 seconds. So I'm going to add this to the vat, and then we should be able to pull a sheet of paper. The other thing I want to review with you is that when you have added your last blender, make sure that you go through and stir it up, starting from the bottom, so that gets all of your fibers suspended in the water and makes it easier to pull the paper. So here we go. You're going to dip in your mold and decal and come up from the bottom and then let it seep through. So here we go. And you want to keep it level while you're doing that, so that it is evenly on the decal. So then I let it drain just a little bit longer. Okay, so you see that the fibers have all adhered to the screen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert this and press down so that it will adhere to the couching sheet, and then very quickly, gently pull it off, and then you have your first sheet of paper. So the next thing you want to do is add 1 more sheet, couching sheet, on top of that. And I'm going to keep going. I'll show you 1 more, and then I'm going to make a whole post of paper, and then I'll show you how I take them off and add them to the drying boards in the other room. And you also want to be careful when you remove the mold so that you don't get water drips on top of what you are pulling through. Otherwise, it weakens that spot. So 1 more couching strip here. There you go. There's your second sheet. So I'm going to keep going, and I'll get back with you in just a few seconds when we go over to the drying room. Okay, I've pulled several sheets of paper, but I want to show you a little bit about what happens and what you can do to remedy this. I pulled a sheet of paper, and some of the pulp came off when I lifted it off the decal. So there's a couple of things that cause this, one of which I don't have enough fiber in my vat anymore, so I need to add additional fiber to that. The other is I didn't have it pressed down completely on my couching cloth, so that also is another reason why it's not working. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can just take it off, throw it back in the vat, or you can use this for projects. There's enough of the page there that you would be able to use it for a project, not for a complete sheet of paper, but for another project. So I've taken the opportunity to stir up some more pulp, and I'm going to add that to the vat, and then we'll keep going. And again, don't forget when you're doing this to make sure that every time you pull a sheet of paper that you are stirring up the fibers. So you want to keep stirring, stirring, stirring. So I'm going to add another couching cloth to the top of that. And the wetter that's why you need so much water when you're doing this process, because the wetter things are, the better they're going to work. So I'll pull about 3 more sheets of paper here, and then we can move to the drying room. Okay, one more, and then we've got a post, and then I'll show you how I press the water out of the post. I have a human pressing machine, which is working pretty well for me. Okay, here's the last sheet in the post. So what I do is I have more blankets down here, and I have 2 they're laminated boards, and they're from an old project that my husband was working on. So I have 2 the same size, and I set them the post between them, and very gently I step on there, because if you just step on, you can go scooting off. And then I rock back and forth and get the water out. There are presses that you can make that have bolts on them that you can tighten down. I have so many things in my house. I don't need another item that takes a lot of room to store, so this works very well for me. Okay, I think I've got about enough water out of there as I can, so we're going to go to the drying boards. So here I am out at what I call my drying area. I have a room set up where I take some, again, laminated boards. They're a lot easier to remove the paper from when it's dry. If you don't have this kind of area, you can also go to a window and put the wet sheets on the window, and then when they're dry, just peel them off. It's a little more challenging because it's a vertical as opposed to a horizontal surface, but it can be done with a little bit of practice. So what you want to do is you want to very carefully grab onto the paper and lift it off the couching sheet, and I drape it at the end of the board and very gently pull it, and then I lay it down and take my brush and brush out as many of the bubbles and the wrinkles that you can. It's not always, you're not always able to get them all out, but the finished product is still so beautiful. It's okay if you have some wrinkles in there and also a few tears. You can always use the paper for projects you want to take as much time as you can to practice. If your intent is to use the paper for writing or in books, then you want to practice, practice, practice to get them as smooth as you can without the wrinkles. If you're going to use them to make lampshades, there is usually enough of the, I dry the paper and stack it away for another day, or I take it when it's wet right now and stretch it over a lampshade frame. Again, I'll take a sheet of paper off there, and I'm starting on the back of the lamp. I will take, and I do this in sections, so what I don't use on the lamp, I will take and add back to my vat and make more paper. So I will, again, the paper adheres to itself, so it makes a seam, and I just very gently tear the paper that I'm not going to use away, because the decal edge is what makes the paper so beautiful. And then I just roll it over and adhere it to the back for the seam, and for the sides and the bottom. And then when I'm ready to start the second, and you will see the edge when it comes through or when it dries, but not as much as you see it now. So here are just two panels that I've done, and let me move over here. And this is one that I've completed. It's out of purple petunias. Last time I said pansies. I really do know my flowers, but purple petunias. So you see that you don't see the seams. You see a little bit down here on the edge, but you don't see the seams when they're when it's on the lampshade. So it's a very lovely process. And then the other thing you can do is laminate, or if you want to add, these are little the Japanese painted ferns. If you want to add some texture to the wet paper, I just add them in here. And then this mess of paper that I put off to the side, it's still, it's delicate, but it is so strong. So it's helpful. You can still take it and do some laminating with the paper that's left over. So you'll see when this dries that it's got some beautiful texture to it. So, well, there you go. That's how you make paper and press it, and use pressed flowers with it. And so I hope this has been informative to you. Again, if you are looking for more information, I'll have some on my website, www.flowerartbyedie.com. And I also will have a link there. You can send me an email if you've got questions. I strongly encourage you to practice, just play. You don't have to be perfect the first time you do this. Just play with what you're doing and have fun with it. And I'll see you at my next episode on making jewelry items out of the pressed flowers and leaves. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.